eat grapefruits! Fake! Liar! You liar!
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel, and it is upon us. In fact, when I get done with the show here, provided the electricity stays on, I'm going to head upside to topside and get you some footage from outside before it gets totally dark. The Florida coast, the West Coast, is about to be ravaged by Hurricane Milton, and I'm right in the danger zone. Yippee skip, huh? What gets me is, shouldn't you be prepared? That's one of the questions I keep asking myself. How can you live in Florida knowing these sorts of things can happen and not be prepared? So I am prepared. Some of the things, let me just talk about some of the precautions, right? I have 5 buckets of water, five gallon buckets of water for washing and bathing. I have 2.5 gallons of water in another dispenser for doing dishes, even though I will probably use disposable dishes because, hey, I like landfills and we got to keep those garbage men employed. Let's see, I got a bathtub, or we'll call it a bathing unit, full of water for using to flush the toilet. Got to wash the toilet down. Let's see, I've got barbecue. I've got of course, a mini camp stove for cooking. I have a butane stove and I have a propane stove. Got 2 generators and a shit ton of generator fuel. You know, what do you do if the hurricane blows the roof off of your house or tries washing water up into your bunker? So I've sandbagged the entrance to the bunker, keep the water out as best I can, but I don't think flooding's a big deal. I'm 24 feet above sea level. That's a lot of surge to come and get me. But I'll tell you what, folks, it really is crazy. All of these people have moved to Florida from as far away as, Hawaii, California, the West Coast, up around the Great Lakes, New York. They had no idea what they're in for. The day one I showed up at the RMZ, I was met by a fucking hurricane. You deal with it, right? The wind blows, trees fall, shit flies through the air. What the fuck do you expect? It's nature. Now, having said that, there's going to be an awful lot of destruction. There's going to be an awful lot of dead people. The property damage is going to be off the hook. It's going to be a fucking nightmare scene for at least 2 weeks in this general area where I both live and work. DeSantis is doing a marvelous job. I actually got footage of him out there unloading boxes and helping people get ready. Videos out there of police and people in prison garb, white and black striped shirts, filling sandbags and helping people get ready. I've watched the community completely come together, big communities, right? And then also Governor DeSantis advised FEMA and all federal employees, they will stay the fuck out of the way or they will be arrested. We aren't wanting them. We aren't needing them. They haven't done anyone a bit of fucking good anywhere. So they're not allowed in Florida. And that does make me happy because I am right in the middle of the shit zone. Right in the middle of the shit zone. But it looks like, this isn't the only problem. Right? It's not the only problem. In Wyoming, I don't know if anyone's paid attention because of all this attention that's being paid to the south where the hurricanes are hitting. But in Wyoming, there's a fire that's ravaged almost 75,000 acres, right? Wildlife is running for its life. Communities are being burned. It's a raging inferno, folks. But it's beginning of October. Right? They're not getting their rain up there yet. But metaphorically, the entire United States of America is burning or drowning or being, just invaded. I think all those words are applicable with what's happening. Are you prepared for shit to hit the fan? Are you prepared for shit to hit the fan? I know I'm as prepared as I can be. Like I said, I've got the essentials covered: food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, first aid, means of self-defense. I've got the ability to go help neighbors if they get in trouble. If their property gets damaged, it's going to be a mess. Tools that don't run on don't run on electricity. The federal government giving people electric chainsaws and power tools with no electricity. That is just like the government. Really, it's just like the government. It's like having cars delivered to you with no tires. Where are you going to go? In any event, folks, it has hit the fan and things are going crazy. And the Democrats, what are they doing? They are literally getting in the way. Getting in the way. Now, we've had at least one helicopter from the Connecticut National Guard in North Carolina blasting hurricane relief efforts with rotor wash. And I believe another one was North Carolina National Guard. There's been at least 3 times helicopters have come in. They've turned off their transponders so that there's not a signal sent with all their information, their flight path, their elevation off the ground, etc. And so at least 3 have done this now, intentionally. Now, I did see a note on Twitter from the Connecticut National Guard saying they're looking into it because someone got the number off the tail rotor and they sent that number in and they tracked it. That's Connecticut National Guard. Who is giving the orders to fuck with people, to make their lives harder, to make their lives more difficult? Hey, look, where's Kamala Harris? She wanted to make a phone call to Governor DeSantis. During Hurricane Helene, she was in California talking about her sex life with some Gen Z twit and then going to a fundraiser. Last night, she was on TV with Stephen Colbert. It's Colbert, drinking Miller High Life out of a can. I'm sure Kamala Harris takes hers in the can all the time. But what is Governor DeSantis doing? He's out there on the ground, right? By the way, in Florida, if you come to loot, we aim to shoot, right? Don't loot or you'll get shot. In other words, he let everyone know that. He literally let people know in a press conference, if you loot, you're going to get shot. This is a no fuck around state. And I really appreciate that. But we're about to have our asses handed to us. And a lot of people are asking the question, is this being done intentionally, somehow, some way? I cannot know for certain, but the evidence certainly suggests that that is just the case. It is. Now, I'm told that everything I say is a lie. Have you noticed that anytime you contradict a Democrat, argue with, debate with, offer an alternative opinion or thought, it's disinformation and misinformation. And everything Democrats say is the absolute, God's honest truth, no lie, no bullshit. Even when Tim Walz is lying his ass off, he's just a knucklehead. He's not lying, he's a knucklehead, right? Oh, that funny, fat, bald, homosexual weirdo, right? Yeah, that's who these people are. I mean, have you noticed it? The Democrats are obsessed with lies. Their stories are the truth, and there's no arguing with them. And it's nothing but censorship and telling us that we got to shut up. It's not going to get better, folks. It's going to continue. And wasn't it just a few days ago? Just a few days ago that Hillary Clinton said there's going to be an October surprise. Is the October surprise hurricane after hurricane after hurricane? It's starting to look that way because we've had Hurricane Helene. Now we've got Hurricane Milton that in less than 5 hours, 4 hours and 20 minutes is going to impact the coast. Right out that way from me. It's going to impact the coast. Right? And then behind that is Hurricane Nadine that is also magically appearing out of nowhere. It's not on any of my hurricane apps, but it's right there in the news. They're telling us about a storm that isn't even in the fucking hurricane apps. And it's coming right after Milton. And it looked like, from what I saw, it's going to hit none other than New Orleans in Louisiana. It's a crazy world, folks. I think the October surprise is attack after attack after attack after attack, using every and all means they have to do it. Now, they don't need to mess with the West Coast. California, Oregon, and Washington, they are definitely liberal as fuck. Except for one bright spot. One bright spot. Steve Garvey, world famous baseball player for the LA Dodgers, is running as a Republican, and he's calling out the sack of shit, lying, traitorous piece of crap, shifty shithead Schiff, who was a congressman, now wants to be a senator. He's calling him out, that bug-eyed fruitcake, right? And he could win because he sounds much more articulate and intelligent than bug-eyed shifty Shift. But other than that, yeah, so we don't need any emergencies on the East Coast, but they need to attack other areas. And how are they doing that? Well, how about this? How about all of the students in Arizona, or at least at Arizona State University, getting text messages and emails from Kamala Harris? How the hell did she get all the students' addresses and names? Right? The same thing is happening at other colleges and universities. Somehow they're getting a hold of everyone's emails and names and blasting them with Kamala shit. But interestingly, the Utes of America are not buying it. No, they're not. The Hispanics, they're not buying it. African Americans, they're not buying her shit. In fact, she's losing support at the same exact time as the mainstream media is putting out polls showing Kamala Harris leading by 10 points. I'm like, you guys, CNN internal polls showing Kamala increasing her lead. It's like, you really think that's going to fly? And you look at the support Trump has just based on rallies alone. And then you look at the support that Kamala Harris gets. There is none. There is none. The only people who are vocally supporting her are the most crude, wacko, fucking nutcases and violent terrorist protesters. And it's funny, the terrorist protesters say, well, I got to vote for Kamala. And then they go, but we hate Kamala too because there's blood on her hands. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. It is that crazy. I think the one thing that unifies all the Democrats is their hatred of Trump. It totally is their hatred of Trump. But just remember, down in Florida, you loot, we shoot, and look out. I've got no problem with that at all. Can you tell how stressed out I am over this hurricane coming, Milton? Literally, I'm in the cone of destruction. I'm in the path of destruction. It's coming. In the military, if you're deployed and you're in a combat zone, or just say a special operations zone, you know well ahead of time that you've trained for nearly losing your life. You've trained for that. You've been briefed on the mission, and you're literally going to voluntarily step out in harm's way to deal with the shit it's the fan situation. War, combat, assassination, hostage rescue, some sort of special op, right? Or just real, we're going to do a patrol. We're going to, and you go out and you're going to get fucking waylaid. You know, at some point the enemy is going to engage. You know, at some point they're going to try an IED to blow you up. You know, there's going to be a terror attack. And you do it anyways, knowing you could die. And I guess maybe that's why, infantrymen are a special kind of breed, right? But you ought to be able to face a hurricane. At least it's not bullets. Face it with a little more bravery instead of just sheer panic and stupidity. So that's where I'm at with this, folks. I'm sitting here going, well, I've been shot at. I've been in a lot worse. When it gets here about 9 tonight, right, it'll be right on top of us. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fascinating. In any event, we have lots of enemies here to shoot at us anyways. And then we've got this. Oh, by the way, everyone, get your questions down below. I'll take your questions regarding everything having to do with this hurricane or my experience with forest fires. and fucking blizzards and orangutans and breakfast cereals and fruit bats, whatever it is that we need to be dealing with. I'll take your questions. But look, as bad as this hurricane is, you know who I think is the biggest problem, or what is the biggest problem? The biggest risk, the biggest threat I have, while the hurricane is going to try and kill me, I can be smart enough and get out of its way and hide behind a tree and a rock and everything else. The biggest threat is people. It is always people. The aftermath, the idiocy, people who lose their shit, lose their mind, looters, thieves, right? Criminals, terrorists. They're the real ones. In fact, you won't believe this, but a violence promoting leftist college university professor was filmed telling students what should happen to men who won't vote for a female president. This fucking clown earlier today, the video was released of him telling students, right? He's down, they're all sitting in the gallery above and around, watching him walk around on the stage. And he says, of men who won't vote for a female president, we could line up all these guys and shoot them. Well, interestingly, the same dumb bastard is now on administrative leave. The college put out their own Twitter. Twitter's been fabulous. Twitter X, I should say, XXX. The school has come out and said, and they've gone on X Twitter, right? The University of Kansas. They've gone on X Twitter and said he has been suspended, right? This guy, by all appearances, is a Trump-hating idiot, right? So he's speaking to young, impressionable skulls full of mush, as Rush Limbaugh used to say of them, right? But it's pretty shocking that this is how they are, right? That this is how they are. This guy, he turns it into a if you don't vote for Kamala, a woman president, then you must be one of those guys that thinks all men are smarter than all women, and you've got some serious problems, he says. Unfortunately, they haven't released this guy's name. I think that they should, right? But he calls for violence against males who don't agree with him. He says we could line all those guys up and shoot them. Pretty nasty shit, don't you think? Right? This guy needs to be his name released. I don't like the fact that they've allowed this guy that sort of anonymity at this level. I don't tell people to go shoot people. Right? I don't do that. Right? I tell people to get prepared to defend yourself, your family, your neighborhood, and your nation. Right? And I tell people, hey, you loot, we shoot. That's the law. And, looters used to not get away with doing what they're doing. And it's fascinating, again, to see Governor DeSantis. He's got 500,000 linemen prepared to rush in as soon as the hurricane passes and restore electricity. I've got two huge 12-volt DC batteries, deep cycle, for powering stuff. It's just, you got to be prepared. And it's good to see that the people of Florida and the governor have that in mind. Everyone else, look out. Look out. Right? If they're not prepared, they're going to be dangerous to themselves, to their families, and to others. And I find that dichotomy interesting. When you're a prepper, you're a benefit to yourself, your family, your neighbors, and your community. When you're not prepared, you're not just a detriment to yourself, but you do your family a disservice, and your community, and your state. Right? There's a huge difference. It's not neutral and a prepper's got more. It's preppers are beneficial, and if you're not prepared, you're just not neutral. You're negative. You're a negative. So maybe that accounts for some of the attitude we have with respect to people who won't take the need to be prepared for emergencies serious. And by emergencies, I don't just mean this damn hurricane. I'm not just talking about just fires. I'm not just talking about illegal aliens, but all of it together. all of them together, our country is in big, big trouble. Interestingly, Europe is pulling out of a tailspin, and they've been pulling out for a couple of years. They're starting to get some traction, right? You've got Marine Le Pen in France. She's a French nationalist. You have Meloni in Italy. She's a nationalist. You have Viktor Orban. He's a nationalist. You have Fico in Slovenia. He's a nationalist, right? The Polish PM, I believe he's in Poland, if I'm speaking correctly. They want to be nationalists, right? You got Geert Wilders from the Netherlands. They want their country to be respected. Then you have Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Union, thinks that the European Union is actually a country. And what's crazy is that's the same attitude Washington, D.C. has. You see, Washington, D.C. isn't a country. Hear me again. Washington, D.C. is not a country. It is an administrative district that is supposed to facilitate trade amongst and between the states and between the states and other nations. But it is not a country. The United States is an administrative arm of all the 50 states authorized and empowered by the U.S. Constitution. We're called the United States of America, the USA. That's all 50 states. The United States is just a corporation residing within the District of Columbia. The European Union is just a corporation that is supposed to facilitate and administrate trade and currency between the sovereign nations of Europe. But it's trying to use its power to destroy Europe the same way Washington, D.C. is trying to use its power to destroy the United States of America. We have one hell of a shitstorm on our hands because we also have, well, the World Economic Forum and other one world globalist corporations and non-government organizations out there using their power, their influence, the ability to bribe and shit on people. And then you have individual nations like China, which is busy buying up as many politicians as it can, anywhere it can find them, by bribing them. If they can get $1 billion deal with a $10 million bribe, why the hell not? Right? Xi Jinping, he doesn't care. Hey, if that guy gets caught, too bad for him. Now, of course, in the world of spycraft, you try not to get caught, right? You try not to, but these people get caught all the time. I've been hearing about Chinese spies getting caught left and right for years, but that doesn't mean they've stopped. They still have their Confucius Institutes here. They should be run out of this country as quick as all of the illegals. Whether they're from Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Afghanistan, Iraq. Oh, they're from everywhere, folks. In fact, one of the Afghanis who managed to escape when Afghanistan fell and was handed back to the terrorists called the Taliban, one of them has been arrested. That's right. He was brought here in 2021. He's been here for several years, probably living very, very well, especially compared to how he would have lived in Afghanistan. But he's been arrested because he was plotting an election day terrorist attack. This is the response, folks. There is no thank you. There's no respect. There's no assimilation. There's no effort on their part. They hate this country and they want to kill people. I mean, talk about fucking cavemen. Talk about being retarded. All of these terrorists. What do they want? They don't want peace. They don't want harmony. They don't want to live well. If Sharia law is so good, why did you leave it behind? Because this is not an accident. It is a war of conquest. Conquest. We have the Islamic world in a jihad, a holy war of conquest. They're trying to take over Europe. They really don't have the manpower to do that, but they have the political and religious will to do that. I guess we're going to find out. I guess we're going to find out. Thank you. Get your questions in. Let me know what's on your mind. Woo! I tell you, it's going to get exciting around here in just a few more hours if it's not exciting enough. There's no flooding around my area, not yet. There's no trees down. The power hasn't gone off. Everything appears to be good, right? Appears to be good. Ah, boy. Everything I see, though, folks, everything I see is just pointing to things that are really, really bad. I do have a positive story to discuss with you very briefly before we get to your questions. Very briefly. What are you doing there, silly thing? There we go. The world has now realized that Ukraine is going to lose. They're going to have to give up. They've been chased, and they're being chased more out of the Donbass region. They're getting their asses kicked. They're retreating more and more and more, right? The question is will Putin allow Ukraine to withdraw their troops and just call it quits? Or does Putin have the authority and the right, if you will, as the leader of a sovereign nation, to make demands of Ukraine? Right? Not only can he, well, he's going to dictate the terms. As the loser, you don't get to dictate terms. And Zelensky, my friends, is one hell of a loser. Oh, he's gotten all of our billions of dollars. I don't know what, I mean, is it 200 billion, 250 billion? Is it 300 billion? Is it 150 billion? How can we know? Because we can't get the government to ever tell us the fucking truth. They'll never tell us. But if Zelensky's losing the war, and he is, does he have the authority or the power to make demands on Putin? No. Basically, when you come to the table as a loser, the winner gets to tell you how it goes. While this is a special military operation and not a war, I imagine similar rules apply as to how you end hostilities. So I'm curious, right? I'm sure Putin is going to say there are territorial concessions you have to agree to, meaning the former eastern provinces of Ukraine that have voted to secede from Ukraine and then voted to join the Russian Federation. Those are no longer now and will not be in the foreseeable future anything to do with Ukraine. So you are not to invade them, harass them, hurt them, etc., etc., etc. Now, can Putin also say your Azov Nazi battalions have to disband? Period. And they're not allowed to be reconstituted with a new name. Right? They're not allowed to be reconstituted with new flags. Nothing like that. Can Putin make those demands? I guess he could. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess he can. He's the winner. He gets to tell them, you're going to break that up. In fact, I'm sure Putin has the names and pictures of members of the Azov Nazis. Remember, these are Nazis, folks. Real, live Nazi war machine in Ukraine. It's not a very good war machine, trust me on that. But it's a war machine nonetheless. And with $200 billion from the United States, it's managed to put up a pretty good fight for a while. I guess if you gave me $200 billion, I could get a pretty good mercenary force together and cause some major fucking damage too. Anyways, what is going to happen, folks? Is it going to be peace? 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 I don't know. I don't trust Zelensky. I certainly don't trust NATO. And I don't trust the United States government. It's incredible how far my trust with the governments has just left me. It's like I used to have a lot of trust. It is 100% gone. Nothing good comes out of Washington, D.C. Nothing good comes out of the technology they're developing, a.k.a. hurricanes. Nothing good comes from their technology. Everything is fucking weaponized. Even the court system is now weaponized. It's useless to people like me and you. Useless. All right. Well, it is a whopper of a Wednesday. Thanks to our good buddy, Milton. Again, Milton. So let's see what you guys want to talk about. Oh,
All right, folks. Well, I guess John's got to call it here because he says every time he's trying to reboot, his power keeps flickering. So it looks like that's going to be it. And he's going to try to do that little live stream of the weather outside a little bit later. And hopefully he gets enough power or internet or can do it from his phone or something. So wish you guys all a good night and wishing everybody down in Florida a safe night, and hopefully we'll see all of you back here again tomorrow. Take care.